MK Ultra donates and says, "Hey Forsen, here's a short and interesting video about the Witcher series for the React content." Ooh, Witcher series. Misleading title. You're right. I'm not playing games yet. You'll have to excuse me. Soon enough. The Witcher critique, the beginning of a monster.
Witcher is a weird
Bro, what the fuck? You leaked me a 4-hour, 20-minute video.
Success of this series that you might describe with the very first sentence of this video. It's easy to forget the beginnings that are now so distant from the pristine presentation of Witcher 3 and how greatly its presence has penetrated.
Dumplings. Is there anything better than dumplings? Well-made dumplings? I don't know.
The landscape of gaming. Yet it's still true. Witcher is a weird word. The problem is that right now you may not even be listening to me. Instead,
Nah, Sushi ain't got shit on well-made dumplings, dude. No.
Your eyes may have fixated on the numbers at the bottom left of your video player. Even for those familiar with my videos, that is a large number, and this is only the first of 3 videos. So imagine what
minus 12 hours.
The sum of all of them will be. So even though it ruins the punch of this video's opening, I feel it's necessary to justify the length of this video series. It is not quite as absurd as it first appears because this is about 3 games, which is really 4 games because all by itself, the Blood and Wine DLC expansion for Witcher 3 is longer than either Witcher 1 or 2. I played these games multiple times, making different decisions and importing saves as I went. I read the entirety of the original 5-part Witcher saga written by Andrzej Sapkowski, and also the first 2 collections of short stories, The Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny. I played through the standalone Gwent game Thronebreaker. I learned Polish to reread the books in their native language to
I mean, it's one thing, like, fucking learning Latin or fucking, like, even Elvish or whatever the fuck Tolkien used, right? But fucking Polish?
Truly understand their beauty. I also played 10 other games, including finishing the entire Mass Effect trilogy plus another game that I'll reveal as a surprise later. I felt they were necessary to draw experience from and use for comparisons to fully explore how these Witcher games succeed and fail. I also didn't shave or cut my hair for 2 years and started wearing it in a top knot like Geralt does.
Wait, what?
Only one of those was a lie, by the way, and it's not the hair one. Look, I know to some of you seeing a video this long for me is the visual equivalent of hearing... But to others, it's best to look at this video as a TV miniseries becoming available at once, with the start of each episode.
Oh my god, this is so ugly. Is this Witcher 1 or Witcher 2? This has to be Witcher 1, right?
Linked in the pinned comment below. And the same for the other videos that I've already finished on Witcher 2 and 3 that will soon be released.
This is Witcher 2.
And as scummy as this may sound, and as scummy as I'm going to feel doing it, these videos took over 5,000 hours for me to make, so I'm going to plug my Patreon and PayPal. If you'd like to support more videos, toss a coin to your bitcher, O Valley of Plenty. After all of that, I don't think the monstrous lengths of these videos are unjustified. In fact, there are a few topics that I think could still be explored in more depth. We're going to get to that in just a few seconds, but there's one other thing that I think is worth mentioning now right at the start. Each of these 3 games do things better than the others. There is no clear best in every way Witcher game, even though the third one is my favorite overall. However, and this was the most surprising thing I encountered while making this video,
if the third one is almost exclusively everyone's favorite, then you could say it's the best motherfucking one.
the books were even better than that. I spent 100 hours with Witcher 1, another 100 hours with Witcher 2, 500 hours with Witcher 3 and its expansions, a few hundred hours with other games, and over 100 reading these 7 books.
Dude, I don't even know why I'm watching it. I'm gonna watch this whole thing.
Anything else. It was a delight to discover what is now my favorite fantasy book series, and
Let's go. Fear the chipmunk.
Chapter 1 begins with a sequence so poor it's like a sensory assault. We're abruptly with this kid and a woman who might be his mother, but turns out it isn't. They're attacked by dogs.
Was that kid mauled as fuck?
Chapter 1 begins with a sequence so poor it's like a sensory assault. We're abruptly with this kid and a woman who might be his mother, but turns out it isn't. They're attacked by dogs. Evil dogs. The woman dies outside the gate surrounding an inn, and then suddenly someone named Shawnee is talking to Geralt. Shawnee knows who he is, and the woman isn't dead after all. Here she is yelling for help. Help! The evil dogs need to be taken care of, and you're just immediately put right to it. The gates open, the woman is now back to being dead, guards instantly die, and after all of this, Shawnee shouts, "The Beast!" before the boy Alvin goes Super Saiyan and starts floating in the air possessed and chanting some prophetic verses about the end of the world while Geralt looks on solemnly like, yeah, this is fine. This is the exact moment where the introduction peaks in absurdity. You can stick a pin in the game when Alvin collapses after this and congratulate yourself on getting through it. Except it's not exactly smooth sailing from here on out.
I dislike it here. I dislike it here.
Chapter 1 of this game is one of my favorite sections in the entire series, and is high on the list among all RPGs that I've played.
Why is it running around with a fucking shovel?
The thing is, you have to finish the chapter to realize that. The prologue is always bad no matter what, but the ending of Chapter 1 contextualizes the whole thing in a wonderfully twisted way. But I'd be a liar if I didn't say another big reason why I think Chapter 1 subverts expectations so strongly is because I was expecting it to be shit. After that introduction, can you really blame me?
Run! I dislike it here.
Geralt has traveled from Kaer Morhen to the outskirts of Vizima, where he is now stuck because the city is under quarantine to prevent the spreading of what's called the Catriona Plague, which is actually the bubonic plague. The literal, actual bubonic plague. Witchers are immune to diseases, but Geralt still requires a pass to get into the city, and that, along with gathering information about Salamandra, becomes the goal of the chapter. Throughout this ordeal, you will be sent running back and forth all over the outskirts. Talk to people here, talk to people there, go and kill some monsters. Another settlement is asking for help. Once you've done this chapter, you can remember how to do it more efficiently on later playthroughs, but for your first time, I propose that the outskirts is where Witcher 1 drags the most in terms of gameplay because of this relentless marching around and around. Looking at the map reveals the issue immediately. This is the walkable parts of the outskirts highlighted in red. As you can see, Chapter 1 has the layout of a Mario Kart track. Every step you make in the direction of one important landmark, due to the circuit nature of the map, necessitates that you are equally farther from another, which is much easier to see if you imagine the path as a straight line that warps you to the other side when you reach either end. It takes more than 5 minutes to do a full circuit on this path. The quests keep sending you to each of these locations, and you don't know yet how to officially combine quests into one trip. Suddenly you're doing so much backtracking that it makes Death Stranding look like it doesn't have enough walking. A couple of relief lines in the middle of the map would have made this area much more tolerable to learn, or the main circuit could have been made much tighter, with the important locations jutting off of it instead of being placed along the circuit itself. Of course, liberal arts majors among you will no doubt point out that all of this walking is meant to reinforce the feeling that Geralt is stuck in a state of frustrating limbo as he is stranded outside of Vizima walking in circles. Meanwhile, me, ya basic boy, will just point out that this repeated exposure to these characters and areas gives you chances to notice some of the less obvious details and provides time for them to marinate in your head, if only subconsciously. This is a good time to speak about how most of the side quests in Witcher 1 aren't really side quests. Now that can initially sound like a huge compliment. The side quests are so well integrated in the game's story that it's difficult to tell them apart. This is a true statement that applies to the majority of side quests in this game, and it's one of the best things that it does, but it's also a destructive flaw if you decide to skip most of it. Witcher 1 is a game that you have to meet on its own terms. If you rush through it only doing the main quest, then the awkwardness of the prologue never goes away. Here's an example. In a quest bluntly called Racists, you will see a dwarf called Zoltan Chive.
I didn't rush shit, dude. I did a lot of side quests. I didn't do every single fucking side quest. I have a fucking life, you know. But I did if they popped up.
He's being accosted by, you guessed it, racists. Whether you help him out or stand aside and watch him take care of the assholes himself, Geralt has the opportunity to have a chat with Zoltan, during which he learns that they're old friends. Zoltan, like everyone else from his past, doesn't understand how Geralt is back from the dead. He wants to take him right to the nearby inn and have a drink to mull it over. But the key word here is opportunity. You can run right by this encounter and not bother with it. You can leave Zoltan to fight off the racists and then walk off without speaking to him, or watch him waddle off into the sunset and then finish chapter 1 without ever interacting with him at all. Then if you speak to him in a later chapter, for the first time ever, Zoltan will not remark on how Geralt should be dead. No comments about how shocked he is to see Geralt living and breathing. The game skips over all of it and even references conversations that should have happened in chapter 1, but didn't. The game can break and leave you deeply confused if you don't approach its side content in the correct way. And this is after the game directly says to you, to help or not to help. That's the Witcher's question.
I'm not gonna watch all this anyway, so I mean, I get it. This is pretty cool though that he goes through with this all. I guess this is only Witcher 1, right? What it's showing right now, yeah. So it's gonna make 2 and 3. Yo, you're invested? I mean, I'm invested, but I'm not 4 hours and 20 minutes invested, bro. I'm really not. I'm really not, dude. I'm sorry. I'm really not. But check it out if you are interested. I guess.